Even though they lost last night, the San Antonio Spurs are changing the way basketball is being played right in front of our very eyes. It's not only them, but they are going to be the leading edge of this new wave of NBA defenses, led by one of the, if not the greatest coach in NBA history, Greg Popovich. He's got an assortment of young defensive talent with Victor Wembanyama, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Jeremy Sohan, the one-handed free throw shooter himself. Now, I know they lost last night, but there was a lot of things I want to talk about from that game. So if you are a Spurs fan or you just like the NBA in general, make sure to stick around for the full video. Hit the like button, leave me a comment down below, and hit that subscribe button. As you can see here, basically my entire audience is not subscribed. So if you could hit that subscribe button, it would be greatly appreciated. We did hit our goal, which was 10K before the season started. Now let's go above and beyond. So let's go ahead and get started here in today's video. The evil genius himself, Greg Popovich, is going to be implementing a lot of zones and playing with a lot of length on the defensive side of the ball this year. And that's where the NBA is going. It's a copycat league. The Heat played zone 15% of the time last year in the playoffs. And, you wonder, it wasn't a miracle or anything that they made it to the NBA Finals. They made it for a reason. They had a great length, great defensive game plan, and the Spurs are able to kind of implement the same thing. They trotted out Jeremy Sohan at point guard last night, and I was like, oh my goodness, this could be something special. Now the playmaking side of things could be a little concerning with Sohan at point guard, but they've only got two players on the roster at under 6'5". Trey Jones, who had a good night last night, and Devontae Graham, who is just kind of a depth point guard. This Spurs team is long, they're athletic, and they do it, they play defense in a way that it plays to their strengths as much as possible. Look at this picture right here. They're guarding two of the greatest shooters of all time, one of the best point guards of all time, and Andrew Wiggins. And they do it by putting Wembenyama on Wiggins, who is he's probably the least three-point threat on the court at all times, and they just have him play free safety. Here he's guarding Kevon Looney. Actually, no, he's guarding Wiggins again. So you have Wembenyama, who's 7'5", playing free safety. You've got everybody else manned up, and they can lock down defensively. Even Zach Collins is not that bad of a defender. So that is how, Greg Popovich has utilized this massive lineup he's got of 6'10" guys, and, of course, the 7'5" monster himself. Look at that picture. I can't get over that. That just looks made up. Like, it looks AI generated. It's crazy. Offensively, we talked about defense. Now, offensively, this Spurs team is pretty good as well. In his debut, Wemby went for 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. So not a terrible debut. Nothing that absolutely shatters the world. But one time, I was very impressed with some of the things he does. Obviously, he shows flashes of potential that just nobody else in the world can recreate. He had 2 steals, 1 block, 5 turnovers, a bit concerning for your power forward. But only 1 block, I wouldn't be too concerned there because, he alters, much like Derek Lively. They alter so many shots or even discourage people from taking shots that would normally be taken. He was 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. Very efficient overall. So I would say a very successful debut for Wembanyama. Had that arena jumping from the tip. Now, let's look at the big leap in year 2 is what I expect for Jeremy Sohan. Last year in 2022-2023, he averaged 11 points, 5.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Now, we know he's a really good defender. He can guard basically every position on the court. He has shown flashes of playmaking, but the big concern for him was going to be how is he going to fit alongside of Wembanyama with also having Zach Collins on the floor. And that 25% three-point percentage was the big question mark. Well, last night, he hit a couple threes. He was knocking them down. Free throws, still a bit concerning, but he had 13 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. Stuffed the stat sheet, played really good defense. Looking forward to a full year of Jeremy Sohan this year where we get to watch him ball out for the Spurs. Now, Malachi Branham's another guy that you could look forward to have a big sophomore season. 10.5 points a game, 2.5 rebounds, 2 assists, last year as a rookie. He shot at 44% from the field, 30% from 3, 24 minutes a night. So I expect him to continue to get more and more PT as the year goes on. Didn't have too much of an impact last night, but like I said, he is a guy that the Spurs have in their long-term plans for sure. So look for him to get more and more PT as the year progresses. Now, Devin Vassell, I think he is going to take a huge leap this year and become the leading scorer on this team. Last year, put up 18.5 points a game, 3.9 rebounds, 3.6 assists, was second only to Keldon Johnson in terms of points per game. But he is also a very good two-way player, really good defender. He shot at 39% from three, 44% from the field, also averages a steal per game. He can protect the rim a little bit. He does a little bit of everything. Jack of all trades type guy at the small forward position. Last night versus the Mavs, he put up 23 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and he had that one dunk in the first quarter. It was like, whoa, holy cow. I thought he was going to throw it up for Keldon, but it almost took the roof off that place. So Devin Vassell, look for him to have a big-time year. And then finally, don't forget about Keldon Johnson, who we really haven't been talking about this year for the San Antonio Spurs. But last year, he's a guy that averaged 22 points a game. So obviously, you got to talk about him when you're talking about the Spurs this year. 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Played well last night for the Spurs. So, again, look for San Antonio. What they're doing on the defensive side of the ball is, I think it's going to be special at the end of the day. Of course, they've got Greg Popovich just playing, it's like a chess game for him, moving all of his pieces around the board. But when you look at all these weapons he's got defensively and offensively, we haven't even talked about the 2 shooters yet. Jetty Osman hit a couple of threes last night. Doug McDermott, we know he can knock it down from downtown. So both these guys are going to be big rotation pieces. Well, not big rotation pieces, but bench guys that can win you a few games a year just by coming in, getting hot, hitting 4 or 5 threes, and putting you over the top. And then you also have Zach Collins, who we haven't even talked about, but they brought him in from Portland, who he really didn't play in Portland, but then he comes over to San Antonio, and he has started to develop. 2 years, $35 million. Sometimes all you need is a fresh start. He got a big-time extension, 12 points per game last year, 6.5 assists in 23 minutes a night. He was good last night for the Spurs. Of course, starting, like we said, at the center spot, letting Victor Wembanyama play that power forward spot so he can, kind of play free safety on defense. Doesn't have to worry about going down and getting dirty in the paint. That's what Zach Collins is there for. And Wembenyama being able to play free safety, coming over the top and blocking shots. And like I said, the Spurs, they have those young legs. Last year, they were number 1 in the NBA in pace of play, and it looked like it last night. They were getting up and down the court in a hurry. If you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. There was a few times, you blinked, and they were already down the court. Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell leading the way. And you also got to remember Tre Jones, who is a decent defender, averaged about 13 points, 6.5 assists last year. He had a decent night last night from the field, scored a few points, played a little defense, grabbed some rebounds. So don't forget about Tre Jones either. But overall, y'all let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm thinking the San Antonio Spurs team could really sneak up on some people. That is a good Mavericks team that they were battling with. I'd like to see the battle with Wemby and Derek Lively. Lively had a really good game. I've been talking him up all summer, so I'm glad he did. But at one point last night, when Wemby pulled up right in Derek Lively's face and knocked down that 3, Derek Lively is a good 7'2" with a really good wingspan. And he pulled up in his face like he was shooting over Muggsy Bogues. That is special right there. So I'm really excited to see how this San Antonio Spurs team plays the rest of the way. Was it just, night one, or are they going to continue to run in transition, have that number 1 pace of play? Are they going to continue to play really good defense with Wembanyama helping over the top? Can Wembanyama stay healthy? All big question marks for the Spurs teams. But if the answer to all those questions is yes, then this is a sneaky team in the Western Conference. With that being said, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like button and hit the subscribe button if you did enjoy at any point, as well as leaving me a comment down below, as it really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video.